All right, hey folks, we're going to do some game design today for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. We're going to work on updating Spelljammer Combat and Exploration for 5e24 mechanics. Today we are specifically working on subclasses, Clerics and Druids. So give me a second here to check in on my signal and make sure that we're coming through okay. It sounds loud and clear. Let's drop that out of the way so it doesn't get in trouble. And I'm going to grab the link here and do some really fast social media posts. We got about an hour at lunch here today, so we're going to get to work here pretty promptly. Clickety, 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 almost done. Let's see here. And click, copy, paste, and okay, we are, looks like, come on, buddy, there you go. Updated. Cool, updated. All right, great. So let's go ahead and fix our screens here and pull up the tabs that we want to use. Fixing our screen here, and we're going to do some game design. So if you think this stuff is fun, you're a D&D enthusiast, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications when we're live in the future. The Spelljammer Combat and Exploration document that we're using to frame all of the mechanics for these subclasses is here on the DMsGuild. It has a 100% free preview. If you decide to purchase it, it comes with all the assets, tokens, and maps that you need for Light as Araxis, space battles and stuff like that, as well as monsters, NPCs, blah, 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 bunch of stuff. So consider picking it up if you're interested. The document that we're actually building the subclasses in is here. For you, it's going to be a read-only document. Here is the list of classes for DnD5e24. Here's the Spelljammer Subclasses. We already worked our way through Artificer and the Barbarian and the Bard. Today we're picking up with the Cleric Journey Domain. So provide safe passage through the Astral Sea. That's the theme that we have going on here. So the Journey Domain spells, we got Cleric levels, we got bonus levels. We've previously built these, but I've done a lot of 5e24 class design in the past few months since we first concocted these ideas. So I wanted to take an opportunity to come back and revisit them to make sure that this is still jiving. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, Guidance, Augury, Expeditious Retreat, Long Strider, Enhanced Ability. That's more spells than what we need to give you. So let's remove Enhanced Ability. Let's go with Augury. Expeditious Retreat, Long Strider. I believe those are still first level spells, right? Let's double check our shit real quick. Expeditious Retreat. Good. Augury. Long Strider. I believe that's first level as well. These are useful spells because they modify while you're piloting and you have this spell active. You can cast it on your ship to improve the speed and maneuverability of your vehicles. Augury, I think Augury is second level. Very good. And final selection was, and we know Misty Step is second level. So very good. Let's take this back to the classes and let's go back to the Cleric in case we need to fetch something from that. Let's dip down and look at some of these subclasses. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Fly and Haste, both useful spells for ship maneuverability and independent travels. Dimension Door, freedom of movement, those are both very useful. Steel Wind Strike for your ship is excellent. And Teleportation Circle, you can have a Teleportation Circle built into your ship using the Bashing campaign systems. So let's look at our subclass features. Going to the Cleric, we got level 3. We got Spell, we have spell slot, restore hit points. Okay, you got a basic ability, you got your spells. Holy symbol, and then you have a channel divinity option. Let's actually peel these layers apart here so that they can keep themselves separated so we can bounce back and forth between our document without concern. Choose domain proficiency, command a siege crew, channel divinity. Okay, so we've got our casting spells. Divine Navigator, when you choose this domain, you gain proficiency in the investigation and perception skills, plus navigation tools. In addition, while traveling the Astral Sea, when you roll to determine how long it takes to arrive at your destination, you can roll twice using the shorter duration. This is a reference. If we go here, and again, this document is on DMsGuild here. It's linked in the description down below. Go check it out. But looking through the document, let's go down to the navigation here in the exploration chapter. And we want to scroll down to traveling the Astral Sea. Let's see. Travel time in the Astral Sea. So time spent traveling from one location to another isn't determined by the distance between them. Rather, travel between locations in the Astral Sea is measured in days, determined by how familiar you are with the intended location as listed below. On the last day, roll 3d8. So you have familiarity and then the number of days. If you're very familiar, it's d6, assuming 3. If it's been seen casually, it's 9 days, rolling 2d8. Viewed once, 3d10 for 16 days. And if you only had a description, it's 12 days, or on average 25 days to travel. Astral tracking, conflicting destinations. Gaining familiarity. Here we are. You can gain familiarity with a location by spending a number of days exploring or researching it as listed in the table below. Hey, Steve, it's good to see you. So the location familiarity is a description. You can't explore something that's only been described to you. That makes sense. But you can research it. In 2 days, you can at least get a rough description of the location. You can find at least a good enough description of the place you want to go to be able to start finding it. Viewed once, obviously you've spent a day there, meaning you've spent 1 day to view it once. That makes sense. To have that level of familiarity through research, it'll take 2d6 days or 7 on average. To have seen it casually, you'll have to spend at least 2 days there for a casual view, though you can. I'm thinking about changing that. We'll get to this probably next week when we update this book, but I'm thinking that casual time needs to be a little bit more. But 3d8 days of research should give you enough information for you to feel as though you've seen it casually, and then you can't be very familiar with the location unless you actually explore it and spend some time there. So like 1 day, I'm thinking this will probably end up being, if there's a 0, d4, d6, d8, d10, I'm thinking this will probably end up being 2d6 days, which will probably end up being seen casually. That would probably be, that'd be about a week. Yeah, 2d6. The average of 2d6 is going to be 7. That's a week's time spent at a location. I'd say you've seen it pretty casually at that point. I think that'll be a realistic distance. So you can gain familiarity with a location by either visiting it or spending time researching it. And once you have gained some level of familiarity with it, that will then affect the travel time in the Astral Sea accordingly. Interesting note here, though, is that you're very familiar, like, say, with where you grew up, your home world, right? So you can always get home very quickly. It's when you go out and venture to new locations that you've never been to before, that's where the hex crawlingness aspect of exploring the wild sea and astral space really kind of clicks in. Because you don't really know where you're going to, you just have an idea of where you're going to. And you're going to run into all sorts of, like, the astral sea is built around distractions and waning attention spans. So the less familiar you are with the location, the more the astral can lead you astray into tangents and eddies. So longer time, more opportunities for random adventures. So on the last day of your journey, roll 3d8. This result is how many hours pass during the last day before actually arriving within range to notice the location with the naked eye. And we have a visibility table up above that shows you how far away you need to be able to see something of various sizes. For example, if you're very familiar with a fortress carved into an asteroid 20 miles in size within the astral sea, the travel time is D6 days because you're very familiar with the location, D6 days. During the last day of travel, you arrive 10,000 miles from the asteroid because that's the range that you can see a 20-mile size object when you're going through space or the astral sea. Now, once an object is noticed, either with the naked eye or detected through an orrery, you can close distance as detailed in the encounter distance section above. If an object or location is encountered in the astral sea, exploring it doesn't waste any previous travel time, but if the traveler takes a long rest, the duration of travel is re-rolled, minus the number of days already traveled. Changing destination loses any previous travel time because you're resetting with a new point of focus. So you have to begin your focus over again. But in the astral sea, you don't have to take short or long rests if you don't want to. That's a purely mechanical decision you make for regaining like combat resources and stuff. So you could go like 3 weeks of travel time in the astral sea and not encounter anything miraculously, and then that day maybe you run into 2 or 3 conflicts of battles of some sort, and your resources have been drained. Now you need to take your long rest. You'll re-roll your travel time minus the days that you've spent. That will be your new set point for how long it's going to take at this point for you to arrive at your destination. Could be quicker, could take longer. Roll the dice. Enjoy. So, relevance to the subclass. In addition, while traveling the astral sea, when you roll to determine how long it takes to arrive at your destination, you can roll twice using the shorter duration. So if I'm very familiar with the location I'm going to roll 2 6-sided dice. I'm going to keep the lower result. There you go. Also, 3rd level guided shot. When you command a siege crew to attack, you can use a bonus action to expand. When you command a siege crew, when you make a ship weapon, attack as a pilot, or command a siege crew to attack, you can use a bonus action to expend a use of your channeled divinity and give your attack roll or command check a +10 bonus. And if the target is at long range, you don't roll with disadvantage. There we go. Better language. At long range of a... And if the target is at... And when making a ranged attack this way, if the target is at long range, you don't roll with disadvantage. There we go. Divine Familiarity. Starting at 6th level while traveling. Again, this is all about, this is the journey domain. So it's all about traveling through the astral sea. It's a very niche subject, but if you're running a Spelljammer campaign, niche subclasses adds flavor. I'm also a proponent of potentially allowing you to swap out class features for like a cleric gaining these things. Like if you wanted to have like a war cleric, but at 6th level you wanted the divine familiarity, you as a DM could say, yeah, you can take divine familiarity instead of whatever your default 6th level thing is. Go right ahead. That's a fun option that I don't know how many DMs actually do that, but I think it's fun. Starting at 6th level while traveling the astral sea, you have a more clear image of your destination than you would normally have. You are considered to be 1 degree more familiar with the destination than you otherwise would be as listed in the divine familiarity table below. So if it's a description only, viewed only, seen casually, it improves to viewed once, seen casually, or very familiar. If you've never heard of a place, you can't become more familiar with it. You have to have actually had it described to you before for you to be able to have divine inspiration for familiarity. In addition, you are considered to be very familiar with your god's home place, home plane, when you choose it as a destination. So if you want to go to the Happy Hunting Grounds, Beastlands, and you set sail through the astral sea for the Beastlands, you'll get there in D6 days. Roll 2d6 and take the lower result. It'll get you to your god more quickly. That just seems to make sense to me too. Planar Caravan. You always have the plane shift spell prepared, and you can cast it without spending a spell slot once per long rest. When you cast it this way, you can amplify the spell without expending additional spell slots to plane shift any willing creatures and ships within the 500-foot space you occupy. So when we're looking at spell casting, let's go to the spell casting chapter. Amplifying spells. Spells remain as published except for as detailed below. Amplifying a spell with one additional spell slot increases the amplified spells. Here we go. Spellcasting can modify a spell to increase the scale of range, area of effect, and damage while focusing on a spell amplifier, which includes spell-jamming helms, active orrery stations, and eldritch cannons. While focusing on a spell amplifier, a spellcaster can increase the scale of the spell by spending additional spell slots. The additional spell slot spent amplifying the spell can either be a higher spell slot than the level of spell cast, or combined with a first or second level spell slot. So if I want to amplify a spell so it affects, it is affecting the 50-foot scale instead of the 5-foot scale, or for example, affecting a craft instead of a character, you have to spend a first level spell slot. So like a third level spell slot could be upcast to a fourth level spell slot, or I could cast the third level spell and with it spend a first level spell slot. If you're using the universal spell points that we have on the DM's Guild, where each spell point is worth 1 level, you would just spend 2 more points, and it doesn't matter if the spell, it doesn't matter, it's 6 or a half dozen. You're just spending 1 or 2 more points, whether it's amplifying or just multicasting. It's still just the extra 1 or 2 points. And then at 2 spell slots, it amplifies to the 500-foot scale, which could also affect vessels, which are up to 500 feet in scale. And this also would include if you wanted to affect a siege weapon, like if you wanted to animate a siege weapon, you would only have to cast the animate object with a first level spell amplifier to affect like a ballista. So it could be a walking ballista, or a self-loading catapult or trebuchet, for instance. For example, amplifying a third level spell to the 500-foot scale can be upcast with a 5th level spell slot, or you can spend an additional 2nd level spell slot or 2 first level spell slots. Higher level spell slots can be used if there are no 1st or 2nd level spell slots available. When you do, you can choose to amplify a spell to the 50 or the 500-foot scale. Sorcerers can spend 1 sorcery point to amplify spells to the 50-foot scale and 2 points to amplify to the 500-foot scale, which coincides with the sorcery system that we have in the Universal Spell Points, which is in the Color Mana system linked down in the description below. And then the amplified scale of the range. The area of effect is similarly, instead of using 5-foot squares to determine the blast area of a fireball, the distance would be measured in 50 or 500-foot squares, and the blast radius would be measured in 50 or 500-foot squares. But damage does not increase. We don't increase the damage that you can deal. Amplified spells deal normal damage. For example, amplifying a fireball to the 50-foot scale can target a location up to 1,500 feet away, affecting all creatures in a 200-foot radius, but the spell still only deals 8d6 fire damage, or half as much if the save is successful. This affects any siege weapons, ships, and other types of creatures without total cover in the area. Many ships provide total cover for crew under deck, though siege crews and other creatures on deck must all roll a saving throw as well. And considering the distance that's normally involved with operating with ships, you're not really doing more damage than, like, say, a fireball would normally be able to do. But when you're dealing with multiple ships in a squadron combat, having the increased area allows you to like if you're doing like a burning hand spell in a 3 square area, instead of being a 15-foot reach at the 50-foot scale, it would be a 150-foot reach. At the second rank of amplifying, it'd be 1,500 feet. And you might be able to affect, like, say, at the 50-foot scale, maybe 1 or 2 ships. and the ships, the pilot basically becomes the ship, almost like wild shaping, so that you get the hit points of the ship plus the hit points of the pilot is the actual number of hit points that need to be dealt. But you're not actually increasing the damage. You're just potentially affecting more creatures in a larger area. So that keeps you from throwing a fireball at Waterdeep and ramping it up to deal thousands of damage and destroy the entire city with a 6th level spell slot. Most of the things in the area would be in cover because a lot of people would be indoors, for instance. So that's how the amplification works. So when you use plane shift, you can affect an area up to 500 feet. Like anything within the 500-foot space, plane shifts with you. So you could, if you have a small fleet that's flying in close quarters to your ship, you could all bundle up together, kind of like in Battlestar Galactica, when they jump, hyper jump, I think is what they call it. They have to spool up the hyperdrive system, and then they jump, and then they escape the Cylons that way. They cluster the ships up close together so they can all spool up and take off. This is sort of that same effect. You cluster up your ships within the 500-foot area, and then you plane shift out either to another plane of existence or just teleport to another location in the plane that you're already in. You can use plane shift either way that way. So, but hey, that's the Cleric. It's highly focused on astral travel, and it's super niche, but when you're doing themed subclasses to complement a setting, I think really leaning into that hyper specialization is generally a good idea because it helps feed more flavor into what you're doing with that setting, with the class options. And we were already talking about before about like swapping in class features if you're interested in it. Like for example, if we go back to the barbarian, if you were playing a berserker barbarian, maybe say at 10th level, you wanted to have brutal piloting, so while using reckless attack, you can forego advantage on one ship melee attack on your turn, and the chosen attack must have a disadvantage on the attacks. If you chose this way, you can consider hitting with your ship a critical hit. So that's a way for your berserker pilot could lean into some of these features instead of being just a pure berserker. You could swap in some of these features. I think all the features that are in here, all of the class features are isolated. We'll see if that's true, but I believe so far they've all been individual features that stand alone on their own. So you could swap these in for your characters anytime if you decide you want to go that route. And the other class we're going to work on today is Druid. We've been at this for about 20 minutes, so we got plenty of time ahead of us today. So great, let's keep at it. Circle of the Melding Heart. Breathe life into the ships you pilot. So we get 1, 2, 3, 4 spells. Mending Message, Unseen Servant, Warning Bond. Second level spell. Unseen Servant is a second level spell, right? Thank you. Click through. Thank you. No, Unseen Servant's first level. Mending's a cantrip. Message is it? Message I think is also a cantrip, right? Message. Cantrip. Warding Bond. This should be second level. Yeah. Mending is good. Unseen. Let's leave in a secret hut. Sending. These are third level spells, fourth level spells, fifth level spells. Okay. Wait. Hallow is fifth level. It's supposed to be, right? Yeah. Okay, let's go to spells real quick because we've got a gap here for the Druid. Let's find a second level spell that makes sense. Because I don't think Mending's pretty good. Let's take Unseen Servant and put it here. Let's go back to the Druid. What the deuce is going on? Oh, I get it. I accidentally opened up the search. Okay, I know what we're doing. I updated the first chapter for the Spelljammer Combat Exploration document, so the equipment section is officially updated with the new tech that we've been going through on Mondays and Thursday nights, including last night, and we'll be continuing with the combat chapter Thursday night, and we're in the process, and then I'll be spending some time probably later on tonight and tomorrow to update the first section of the combat chapter that we've been working on. We're looking for second level spells. And we only want core spells. There we go. What do you got? Arcane Vigor. You tap into Life Force to heal yourself. Roll 1 or 2 of your unexpended hit dice and regain a number of hit points equal to the roll's total plus your spellcasting ability modifier. Those dice are then expended. Beast Sense, Blur, Calm Emotions, Cloud Dagger, Continual Flame. We're awakening ships, right? Breathe life into the ship that you're piloting. Detect thoughts. Enhance ability. Enhance ability isn't a horrible option. We'll put a pin in enhance ability. We can pencil that one in. Enlarge, Enthrall, Find Steed, Find Trap, Flame Blade, Gentle Repose, Invisibility, Knock, Lesser Restoration, Locate plants and animals. Breathe life into ships you pilot. Mirror Image, Misty Step, Moonbeam, Prayer of Healing. Up to 5 creatures of your choice who remain within range of the spell's entire casting gains the benefit of a short rest and also gains 2d8 hit points. A creature can't be affected by the spell again until that creature finishes a long rest. That's a useful spell. Protection from poison, Rope Trick, Scorching Ray. So far, Enhance ability is still standing out because that spell affects your piloting ability. I like that. Warding, but yeah, let's go with Enhanced ability. Enhanced ability. Unseen Slurvant. Mending is cantrip. Okay, cool. So, ship melding. When piloting a ship constructed from light or composite material, which is generally organic material. Hold on, let's go look at the book again real quick. Again, this is linked down in the description below. Ships. Material. My nose is super itchy. Excuse me while I keep futzing with it. Ship materials. Ships can be constructed of materials that are either light, heavy, or a composite of both. Light materials include bone, ceramic, and wood, which are natural things that a druid would normally, you would assume, be able to interact with well. Heavy materials include crystal, metal, and stone. Composite materials include a blend of both heavy and light materials, such as metal and wood, or ceramic and crystal. The ship's statistics are modified by the material it is constructed from, which the DM can describe. So materials, your strength, constitution, and dexterity modifiers, your armor class that's inherent to the ship, depending on the materials, and your piloting ability. The vessel damage reduction and the fighter craft damage reduction, scaling in size from up to 500 feet and crafter up to 50 feet. So light material is going to be bone, ceramic, and wood, while composite material would include bone, ceramic, wood, and, say, crystal. Maybe chitin could qualify as composite, though we don't have it listed there specifically. But chitin would make sense as a composite material, I think. So when a when piloting a ship constructed from light or composite materials, you can expend a use of your wild shape feature to meld your body with the ship. While melded this way, you remain in contact with the helm, reducing your speed to 0, and you cannot lose focus for the duration of the wild shaping unless you fail an inertia shock check. In addition, you can reshape the ship while melded to traverse solid or liquid surfaces. So we've modified this. Actually, I'm gonna take a quick tangent here real quick. Let's go into command, vehicles, Spelljammer, production, 2024 updates, and here's the modified. Let me get this out of the way. Here's the we did those modifications we were talking about on Thursday last week. So here we've updated the illustration to get out of the way of the extra text, but we now included the category for ships that are capable of submersing. Maybe that's how I should word that. All vessels and the ship can seal its lower decks with air that lasts 1 day while the air envelope fills with water. Upon exiting the water, the pilot can choose to keep the water in the envelope or drain it, restoring the air envelope. While a pilot focuses on the helm, a ship can fly underwater at a scale up to 500 foot squares. Now, draining water this way requires 1 round for every 50 feet of space the ship occupies. So a fighter craft can drain water from its air envelope within one round. A hammerhead ship, which is a 250-foot craft occupying a 5x5 space or occupying 5 squares at the 50-foot scale, it takes 5 full rounds for all the water to drain out of a hammerhead ship air envelope. But you have ships that can traverse solid terrain, as in like walking, right? You can either land. If it says no, it means you can't effectively land on ground. But and then if it says yes, it means yes, you can land there and still remain upright. Like you have landing gears, for instance, that allow you to land on solid surfaces. And then if it has a number listed, that's the speed that the vehicle can actually move on that space. And you can see here, like the damselfly has insect legs. A flying fish is a fish. It has fins and stuff on its underbelly. So when it lands, it just basically topples over sideways and basically knocks everybody inside of it asunder, which is called scuttling. But a damselfly is an insect. It has feet it can land on. The lamprey, it has a yes, so it has a smooth bottom, but it doesn't have any legs or anything that would actually give it locomotion on the ground, so it can land, but it can't actually like crawl on the ground. Scorpion ships have legs. It's an insect. It can crawl on the ground. A space galleon can't. A shrike ship can land, but it can't scuttle around. A squid ship, generally the way it's built, can't. Star moths can't. A turtle ship can, it can drag itself like a sea turtle on the ground. It can land, but it can't move around. But a wasp has insect legs, so it can walk around. Similarly, a spiderling, one of the small insect-shaped fighter craft, it can crawl around on legs. And the elithid cuttlefish, it's basically like a tiny little octopus, and it has enough tentacles underneath its body that it could also move along the ground. Similarly with liquid, if it says no, it means it's not properly built to be able to float and it will sink. If it says yes, it means it can land on water and it's stable, but it doesn't have any natural means of propelling itself across the water like sails and shit like that. But like a bombard has sails. A flying fish has sails. Hammerhead ships have sails. Living ships have sails. A nautiloid doesn't have sails, but it's a nautiloid. It's a fish. It can swim. So these are like squid ship. It's got sails. It's a squid. It can traverse. It can move on water. And then anything, if you're piloting and you dunk underwater, you can still fly underwater like anything normally would be able to, but its move speed is drastically reduced. Basically 1 mile per round, or 1 mile per round is 10 miles per minute. So roughly 500 miles per hour is the maximum. I mean, that's still really fucking fast underwater, but it's nothing compared to 10 million miles per day. Hey, what's going on, Omni? You don't owe me anything, Omni. You come and go as you please. I'm just thrilled that you think this shit's interesting. So these are we've been updating the Spelljammer document for 2024, and we're working on the subclasses. So we're working on the Druid, Circle of the Melding Heart, which is breathing life into the ships that you pilot. So now that we've looked at different movement types that vehicles have, we can understand that when you pilot a ship constructed of light or composite materials, or like organic material, right? You can expend a use of your wild shape feature to meld your body with the ship. And while you're melded that way, you remain in contact with the helm, which reduces your speed to 0. You can't just walk away until you end the wild shape. But you can't lose focus either, unless you get an inertia shock from momentum. So like taking damage doesn't cause you to lose focus because you become the ship. And during the duration of the wild shaping, in addition, you can reshape the ship while melded to traverse solid or liquid surfaces. So again, looking at the document here, normally, like say a spiderling normally would not be able to land on and navigate across water, but if you're melded to the spiderling, like you could raise up its legs and like stretch gauze between the legs to create sails that you could then catch the wind and push yourself across the surface of water if you wanted to. Combat melding. So at level 6, as a bonus action, when activating or while using your wild shape feature to meld with a ship. Well, here's an exception. Yeah, I was talking about earlier about how all the different features seem to be pretty isolated from each other. But I've immediately contradicted myself. So this class is leaning into using wild shaping to affect your piloting or your ability to control the ship. So combat melding, as a bonus action, when activating or while using your wild shape features to meld with a ship, you can grow ship melee weapons, either a ram that deals bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage. You can grow 2 grappling claws or 2 grappling tentacles. In addition, when you make an inertia shock check while you are melding with a ship, you can roll your command die, adding the number to the result of the Constitution saving throw. Holy crap, that's really good. Inertia shock. The inertia shock prevents you from speeding up or slowing down too quickly, because you can go 10,000 miles per round, but if you stop on a dime, that's a lot of G you're pulling. The inertia shock is designed to potentially stun your pilot if you pull too many Gs. Because the range of combat is only 1 mile, there's a strategy where you could blast away 1,000 miles out of range of combat and then jump back in within a mile at 1,000 miles per hour, stop within a mile, fire some weapons, and then jump back out again at 1,000-mile range to just blip in and out of existence effectively to be able to attack and then disappear, attack and then disappear. But if you try to do that, it's going to require you to do an inertia shock. And if you fuck up your die roll, you get stunned. You lose control of the ship. It drifts. You're stunned, so you can't take any action. And their ship has no shielding, so you can deal direct damage to the ship without anybody potentially mitigating the damage. This allows you to abuse that a little bit by allowing you to add your inertia shock. In addition, when you make an inertia shock check while you're melding the ship, you can roll your... you know what? I think the command die is going to be a little bit too strong because it's going to, on average, increase your die roll a lot more. I think giving you advantage would make a little bit more sense. In addition, when you make an inertia shock check while you're melded with a ship, you can roll with advantage. I think that is better. You can roll with advantage. Hey, what's up? You're making them custom stuff? Yeah. So the idea is that you could pick any of these subclass features, like if you're like earlier I was saying, like if you're a berserker barbarian, you could take some of the raging pilot features instead of your berserker features to opt into taking things for spell jamming if you wanted to. Obviously, in the combat melding, it would have a prerequisite of ship melding. So you'd have, like, if you want to take the 6th level combat melding, you'd have to take ship melding at 3rd level. But so far, all the other subclasses, they're pretty isolated, like, individual things. Like, you can take the 3rd level feature without being affected by the 6th. You can take the 10th level feature without needing the 3rd or the 6th level features. Most of them are pretty isolated instances that let you swap in options. And depending on how powerful, and you can always, I think you can always backtrack. Like, at 10th level, my Barbarian might want to take, like, a 3rd level Raging Pilot feature instead of their 10th level Berserker feature. It's such a hyper niche feature for the subclasses that it's real, unless you're actually just running a Spelljammer campaign where you're spending a lot of time on your ships, like the Mecha Pilot kaiju campaign we're going to run for Storm King's Thunder, where your characters are equipping themselves in Gundams and flying off and fighting mega kaiju, kind of like Evangelion, but in space. Those characters are going to be operating inside of mecha most of the time. Most of the combat, because it's a playtest campaign, it's designed so that your characters are going to be mostly flying mecha and fighting giant monsters at the 50 scale up to a mile in size. And so having dedicated subclasses like this would help in that sort of a campaign. But if you have a more general campaign where Spelljammer is acting more of a vehicle to get you from one adventure to the other, pardon the pun, but to just get you from one adventure to another, opting into features instead of just going full bore, this is what my character is all about, that's a good mix. And I kind of like that design idea. I like Strix classing, which is like prestige class subclasses. So I'm trying to design these things so that they have those pick and choose sort of options to opt into the campaign where you're playing that character to give it more uniqueness and synergize with the actual mechanics of the campaign that you're running. So, what core classes have you already covered in previous videos? So far we've done we had one episode for the Artificer, being a siege engineer, creating and commanding siege weapons in combat. The Barbarian Path of the Raging Pilot, where your Barbarian takes command of the ship to use your rage features to help improve ship combat. The Bard, a College of Command, similarly commands crews of siege or squadrons of ships in combat. And the Cleric, we just finished the Cleric, which is the Journey domain, which is hyper-specialized in improving movement and maneuverability and tracking things in the Astral Sea. And now we're working on the Druid, which is all about making your ships living things. So 10, natural melding. When using your wild shape feature to meld with a ship, spells that heal hit points can also repair the ship. Normally a ship can only be repaired with like fabricate, creation, the mending spell, or just like hammers and nails, or like a welding torch and patches of iron or whatever. So normally a ship can't be healed, it has to be repaired. But this feature, while using wild shape feature to meld with a ship, spells that heal hit points can also repair the ship. So now you can use your Cure Wounds or Aura of Healing or Arcane Recovery, Arcane Healing, whatever that was called. Those would all now work. In addition, while melding with your ship, the air envelopes surrounding your ship cannot become foul or deadly. And as a magic action, you can expend a spell slot to freshen the air for 10 days for each spell level spent this way, up to 50 with a level 5 spell slot. That's useful. And then regeneration. When using your wild shape feature to meld with a ship, when you expend hit point dice, the ship is also repaired, regaining twice the number of hit points rolled. So now your druid can spend hit dice to heal the ship. Fun stuff. And that's the druid. And what time are we at? We're 45 minutes in. The pilot's got a lot going on. It has basically it's like an alternate battle master for combat maneuvers that specifically affect ships. And I honestly think that's going to be more than the 10-ish minutes I have worth of playing. So I think I'm going to go ahead and pause there for the day. And yeah. We got through Druid, Cleric and Druid. We're going to be back on Friday. We'll deal with Fighter. And let's just look at the Fighter pilot real quick. Augment ship combat with tactical maneuvers. Bonus proficiencies. When you take this archetype, you become proficient in the perception skill and navigation tools. Third level combat maneuvers. In addition, let's see. Third level, no, in addition. Your training as a combat pilot allows you to perform a number of combat maneuvers that you have trained. Select 3 combat maneuvers from the list below. You can add the selected options to your character when they are piloting a ship. You can swap one maneuver known whenever you gain a level in the fighter class. And then a lot of it's like a mix. These are all things that we took from the martial power system and amped to work with mecha. Again, we're looking at developing... Where'd it go? Here. Monsters and Machines. Here we go. So here's the mecha, the mecha handbook. When we finish these subclasses and we finish revising Spelljammer Combat Exploration for the 5e24 system, we're going to get back into the Warforged Machines book. I think that's what we're going to end up calling it. Yeah, Monsters and Machines actually sounds pretty good. Let's do that. Yeah, so when the 5e24 book is updated and we get that published and we finish sweeping through these subclasses, we're going to then come back into this document on Monday night, Tuesday day, Thursday night, Friday lunch. We're going to focus on locking down the mechanics for the Monsters and Machines. And this is a, what is it, like a 20, oh, it's up to 40 pages already. Nice. This is basically how to build Gundams, Evangelions, Veritech ships, and how to build mega kaiju, creatures that are 50 feet or larger. Like the Tarrasque is 50 feet by 70 feet. Like that's a small Tarrasque. The mega hold on. If we go here, nope. If we go here, and we go to my channel, and we go to the videos. There's the Spelljammer Monster of the Week 2024 Mega Kaiju. These are 500-foot squares. So this kaiju here, that's 1,500 feet in size. That's a huge fucking threat. It's got thousands of hit points and can deal stupid amounts of damage. This is the scale of creature. This is the scale of map that we're looking to run Storm King's Thunder in a Spelljammer campaign using the Monsters and Machines supplement so that we can build out mecha that are equipped to be able to fight mega kaiju like this. So that's the idea. That's my master plan, is to have basically a 5e Lancer system using the Spelljammer mechanics that we developed so that you can use your 5e campaign and just throw your 5e characters into into a 30-foot dreadnought and then have them stomp around and fight like hill giants or like storm giants and stuff like that and be the same scale of creature they are. Pick up a fire giant sword and cut them down with their own weapons while you're running around in your machine. Ka-chonk, 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 ka-chonk. Like Destroids and shit, or like ground Gundams. That's the idea. So that's ultimately where we're trying to get to. And so we're building all of these different layers of 5e mechanics to help reinforce and funnel our way down into, hey, let's play Evangelion in 5e. So like if you like the idea of Lancer, but you like the 5e game engine, here you go. This will work for you. So we're going to build that out as a campaign. and run that on my Discord server. Like that'll be like right now we're doing a mega dungeon for playtesting martial powers. That's eventually in the new year going to get replaced with Storm King's Thunder, where your team is going to run around, or rather fly from asteroid community to asteroid community in a dwarven fortress that acts as a hangar bay to dispatch Gundam ships to go fight monsters that are trying to eat the fields or the forests or the villages that are on these different asteroid communities. So, yeah, right on. Glad you like it. Hey, Axon. I'm planning on heading back to the Spelljammer setting as a paladin. Fuck yeah, dude. So I'll really like to see how these types of features. The paladin's really cool. We won't get to that till next week. But the paladin that we have, I built all these out a number of months ago, but I've been doing a lot of 5e game design in the time being. I'm a lot more well versed in 5e24 mechanics now, so I wanted to come back and look at this again. But the paladin, we have Oath of Salvage. The Oath, this document, this is available for you guys to look at right now if you wanted to. It's linked down below. All my stuff is on the DMsGuild. It's all free to view, and you buy it because you want me to make more stuff. But the document that I'm working in right now this is the subclass book, like literally right here. It's read only, but again, it'll be on the DMsGuild eventually, and you'll be able to read the whole thing anyway. These are just the rough ideas that we're cobbling together right now. So I'll finish with the Oath. With the Oath tenets, and then I'm going to bounce for the day because I'm just on a lunch shift, so I got to bounce out of here in just a few minutes. So the Oath of Salvage calls on paladins to rescue stranded mariners and ships lost in wild space in the astral sea. The tenets are, though intentions may vary, paladins of this oath follow these tenets. The Law of Salvage upholds the Law of Salvage, which is finders keepers. Light in the dark, always respond to a call for help. You might be a pirate, and the reason you're responding to the call for help is because you want to capture and then ransom off whoever's asking for help, or you could be a good aligned character that's there to legitimately help and rescue them, but you're always going to respond to a call. And then leave no one behind. Never leave someone to die in space. Again, a pirate could take you for ransom, but they have an oath, then that's just going to let you walk the plank and then get spaced. Like, the Oath of Salvage, even evil Oath of Salvage, won't let you just space people. There you go. That's the basic tenets, and then all the features help reinforce those ideas. But that's going to be another session. So we're going to be back Thursday night to continue working through and modifying the document to utilize the 5e24 mechanics. We're currently in the combat chapter, dealing with scaling combat and different scales of battle for fighter craft, vessels, and then squadrons of ships at 50, 500, and 1 mile scales. We've gotten through the first section of this book. We've gotten to the point where we've explained how the mechanics of maneuvering at larger scales operates, and all the roles that characters can play, how they can use their action economy inside their ships using 5e mechanics, because combat still happens in 6-second rounds. You're just in bigger vehicles, but you can still move like 10,000 miles per round at spelljamming speed, so you have a massive maneuverability, huge scale, but the weapons are all archaic, so they can't hit things more than a mile away. So even though you can fly at these blinding speeds, you have to stay close and personal to be able to do anything to each other. Otherwise, you're just kind of waving at each other and giving each other the bird as you go by. You got to get close to damage each other. So you can use your action economy, your attacks, bonus action, reaction. Use object interactions instead of movement to move your ship. So you get 5 squares of movement, whether it's at the 5-foot scale, 50-foot scale, 500-foot scale, 5,000 scale. It just depends on how you're maneuvering and what scale you're engaging combat at, or exploring dungeons and stuff like that. We had in Descent into Avernus, we had a mega dungeon. By mega, I mean it was at the 50-foot scale. We were fighting a 200-foot purple worm that could deal like 400 points of damage if it swallowed you. Stupid, but they were all flying around in flying infernal war machines, using these mecha mechanics that we're leaning into. It was a super fun campaign. But we got through all of that last night, and so when we come back on Thursday, we're going to continue with this chapter and update mechanics for the weapons and crew. And then on Friday, when we come back, at lunch, we're going to lean into the fighter pilot mechanics, which is basically like an alternate battle master, but for ship combat maneuvers instead of your battle master maneuvers. Essentially the same thing, but different kind of scale, different sort of effects, different flavor. But yeah, right on, man. Hey, if you think this stuff is cool, like and subscribe, man. I do game design 4 days a week, and I do artwork for all my books in the morning. So stick around, ask questions, join my Discord server down below if you're interested in playing. If we have space at the table, the way I design campaigns is that anyone can walk in any week, just as long as you know what the fuck we're doing, and you know how the characters work, and you're up to date on the playtesting stuff that we've been doing. So people are welcome, and we're always looking for more playtesters. So be welcome to tag along, stick around, sing a song, take a hit from the bong. And we'll be back. We're going to be back. I won't be here tomorrow because I have to go downtown early morning, 6 a.m., and do my once a month visit to a corporate office downtown in Seattle because I have a day job. My lunch is over. I'm going to bounce. I'll be back Thursday morning to continue with Eberron artwork, and then Thursday night we'll continue with developing the 5e combat mechanics to use the new 24 mechanics instead of the 2014. So, but hey, thanks a lot for hanging out with me, guys. Hey, Felix, it's good to see you, man. Sorry, Ixolix. I keep trying to call you Felix, man. Fernando, that you even want to show up is a blessing. I really appreciate you, my man. But I will see all you cats later. Thanks a lot for being interested. I really appreciate it. Cheers.